Okay, well this is what's got all the UFO fanboys excited at the moment. This is the Daily Mail. What's the date on this? Oh, well, it's recent anyway. Oh, it's the 29th of November. There you go, published 0116, 29th of November. Okay. Exclusive. CIA's secret office has conducted UFO retrieval missions on at least 9 crash sites around the world, whistleblowers reveal. Right. Now, of course, it doesn't say alien spacecraft retrieval missions. It's UFO retrieval missions. So this could be, you know, something's crashed and they've recovered it and they're examining it. It doesn't mean it's extraterrestrial for a start. Okay, so the Office of Global Access, never heard of it, OGA, a wing of the CIA, has played a central role in collecting alien spacecraft since 2003. That's a bit of a bold statement, isn't it? Collecting alien spacecraft since 2003. Sources tell dailymail.com. At least 9 non-human craft have been recovered by the US government. Some wrecked from a crash and 2 completely intact. Read more. Okay, so hands up everybody that believes that. Put your hand down, Jenkins. Stupid boy. Don't believe that for a minute. Now, here we go. It goes on. A secretive CIA office has been coordinating the retrieval of crashed UFOs around the world for decades. Multiple sources told the dailymail.com. None of these sources are named, of course. One source said at least 9 apparent non-human craft have been recovered by the US government. Some wrecked from a crash and 2 completely intact. Oh, really? These aliens would have to be the worst drivers in the galaxy, wouldn't they? And Ross Coulthard, of course, says that there's a lot more than 9. You know, he thinks there's at least 12. So these aliens would have to be the worst drivers in the galaxy. I'd hate to pay their insurance premiums, that's for sure. 3 sources briefed on those alleged top-secret operations told dailymail.com. The Office of Global Access, OGA, a wing of the CIA, CIA's Science and Technology Directorate, has played a central role since 2003 in orchestrating the collection of what could be alien spacecraft. Okay. Well, if they're talking about recovering alien spacecraft and non-human craft, why suddenly could they be alien spacecraft? I think they need to make their minds up, really, don't they? Are they claiming alien spacecraft or not? The 3 sources, who spoke on condition of anonymity to avoid reprisals, have all been briefed by individuals involved in those alleged UFO retrieval missions. Though the shocking claims sound like they come from a science fiction novel, they certainly do, they are part of a growing body of evidence suggesting the US government could indeed be hiding advanced vehicles that were not made by humans. I don't think so with all these unnamed sources. I mean, all one of these unnamed sources has to do is go do a TV programme like 60 Minutes, isn't it? And say, look, here's part of an alien spacecraft I've been working on. Doesn't have to be big. You know, get it analysed by a couple of universities to confirm that it's extraterrestrial material, and then I'll take a huge fee. I'll never have to work again. So I won't have to worry about not being able to get a job in the intelligence business again, will I? Now, this is the Office of Global Access. technology targeting tradecraft. Technology targeting tradecraft. Tradecraft is what they call how intelligence agencies operate, isn't it? So it doesn't sort of sound like this is specifically involved in UFOs, is it? With that moniker there. But all they really need to do is find out who the boss of the OGA is, subpoena him, and get him in front of Burchett, Luna, Mace, and the other guy in Congress. Get him in front of Congress and say, okay, if this is real, what have you got? Where is it? We want to see it. We want to see some tangible evidence that this is in fact real. If they subpoenaed the boss of the OGA, Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, that's all they'd need to do. And I think they'd find out very, very quickly that they would all fight this tooth and nail. It would all have to be kept super secret, because producing something that doesn't exist is impossible, isn't it? So they're going to be telling people, or have been telling people for an awful long time, this is all real. They've got these flying saucers and the alien spacecraft. Suddenly being asked to produce one, and of course they go, oh, what are we going to do now? We don't have any of this stuff. We've been bullshitting people for decades. What are we going to do? How can we get out of this and maintain some sort of credibility? Well, they wouldn't maintain any credibility with me, for sure. But they're going to have to say that we can't show. It's all super classified, because they won't be able to produce any of it, for the simple reason it doesn't exist. It's all science fiction nonsense. Okay, it says the Office of Global Access, a wing of the CIA, has played a central role in collecting alien spacecraft since 2003. Sources tell the Daily Mail. So, yeah, with a moniker like that, technology targeting tradecraft, doesn't sound like it's got anything whatsoever to do with recovering alien spacecraft to me. If they've got two intact alien spacecraft, certainly don't believe that. I don't believe they come here and crash. I don't believe aliens would leave any biological or technological samples on this planet for us to study. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. They're not going to help us, potentially, get to them and destroy them. The whole thing is ludicrous. It's nonsense. All right, let's see what David Grush has got to say about Harry Reid, and then I'll show you what Harry Reid said himself in the Independent newspaper. Okay, so here's Grush on the Joe Rogan Experience. I'll leave a link to this below so you can watch it in its entirety.
Reports I read, I did get some stuff cleared. So during my investigation, I'm like, you know what? I need to talk to somebody at the highest levels, right? So, and this will give you an idea of the kind of people we talk to. And this is the only one I'm going to talk about using their name because they died 2 years ago. So in spring 2021, I actually flew with a couple colleagues of mine to Las Vegas. And I met with Senator Harry Reid about...
In spring 2021, he went and had a chat with Senator Harry Reid.
9 months before he died. And of course, he's a private citizen now, and I wanted to brief him on the topic, and I wanted to get his kind of thought leadership on it, because, you know, he was a Gang of Eight member, right? You know, which is the top most cleared senators and congressmen. He was the majority leader, for God's sakes, of the Senate. And I knew, you know, he helped sponsor the OSAP program that I mentioned, and where they looked at Skinwalker Ranch and some other things.
Yeah, chasing werewolves around Skinwalker Ranch. It gets more and more pathetic, this story, doesn't it?
And I wanted to understand, like, what does Harry Reid actually know? Like, why did he, you know, give $21 million to DIA and Bigelow Aerospace for this? So I'm sitting there in Harry Reid's living room, you know, right next to him with some other witnesses that were there with me. And he straight up says, he's like, yeah, I knew we had UFO material. I was denied access for decades. I tried to get access. And then he explained some of his efforts during OSAP. And I was like, holy shit, did the former majority leader just say, did he just confirm this to me as well? You know, I was already talking to these amazing...
Well, no, he said he tried to get access to it. It doesn't sound like he got access to it, does it? Again, it's, you know, someone's telling Harry Reid that they've got this stuff, but they're not showing it to him. So Harry Reid said, "Okay, we'll give $21 million to Allsap to investigate this stuff at Skinwalker Ranch," which turned out to be wolves and deer. An absolute load of rubbish, basically. Okay.
High-level people, but I have Harry Reid literally saying, yes, we have material, and, you know, he knew it was non-human.
Did Harry Reid have
Now, yes, is a good question from Joe Rogan. Does he have personal knowledge of that? So Grush is saying that Harry Reid told him that he had extraterrestrial material.
personal experience with this?
I don't know if he's had any personal stuff in his personal life.
I mean, did he...
Nobody ever has, have they? No one that ever sits down with any of these guys has claims personal experience with any of these materials, unless you're talking about people like Bob Lazar. You can put a line through as just a fantasist, you know, just complete and utter rubbish, Bob Lazar's story.
See it? Did he...
He said,
witness?
in terms of seeing the material himself, he said he was denied access for years, decades was his term, and he actually told me, on behalf of me, he was going, so he had like a weekly call with President Joe Biden at the time, and he straight up said to me he was going to talk to President Biden about this issue, literally. And then what he was telling me about OSAP, I was like, holy shit, I have like 20 other people that told me this, dude. So the real history, what fucking OSAP was, because I think there's a lot of people out there that think when they were looking at ghosts, Skinwalker Ranch, yes, they went to the ranch as a secondary and tertiary objective. But the real reason, so like there's a document that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah, actually, I'll leave a link to a New York Post video called The Great UFO Lie, which tells the true story of this nonsense, this Allsap nonsense. I'll leave that below so you can watch it. And that, I can't remember the guy's name now, but he's done a couple of these videos. He's very good. Green Street, maybe? He phoned David Grush to have a chat about it, and Grush just hung up on him. And he said, you know, if you've got a strong story and it's based on fact, why would you hang up on a journalist, you know? And I think that's a very, very good point. Okay, so remember, he's talking about Harry Reid, and Harry Reid talking about having being denied access to extraterrestrial materials and all this sort of stuff. Let's see what Harry Reid actually had to say about the first congressional hearing on UFOs. As reported in the Independent newspaper. Okay, well, I found the Independent article, but I think this one's better. And if you just put in the search bar, Harry Reid, it's Vlad, this comes up. So this is 30th April 2021. Daily Mail. There's no question, there's no question it's Vlad. Former Senator Harry Reid, this is the guy Grush is talking about, says UFOs buzzing US warships are Russian, not alien, and tells Biden to set up a task force to counter the threat. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid pointed the finger at Russia over unidentified flying objects spotted by US warships. The UFOs were seen in images and footages leaked from a Pentagon thing. Yeah, well, we all know those. Reid has called on for a permanent UFO program to be established following the sightings. Okay, so Harry Reid is saying it's not aliens. Senator Harry Reid says UFOs buzzing US warships are Russian, not alien. Former senator has blamed UFOs filmed buzzing US warships on Vladimir Putin, saying there was no question that Russia was involved. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid called for the US. I wish these newspapers wouldn't write everything twice. Called for the US to establish a UFO program after the Pentagon confirmed evidence of unidentified flying objects over Navy warships off of California in 2019. In an interview with MysteryWire.com, Reid, who has pushed before for a UFO program, discussed the potential origin of the mysterious flying objects, which the interviewer suggested may be Chinese. Always remember, Russia, the former Soviet Union, is run by a man who ran the KGB. They had as many as 30,000 agents at one time, KGB agents, so Russia's involved in this, no question about it, Reid said. He added that UFOs were something that cannot be ignored and that President Joe Biden should be briefed on the matter. So you see how Grush has twisted this story into it being alien spacecraft. You know, he's saying, Harry Reid is saying that he's spoken to President Biden, there should be a UFO program, but it's because of terrestrial threats. It's because the UFOs are Russian. There's no question. It's Vlad. Former Senator Harry Reid said. So, because Harry Reid is now dead, Grush has picked up this story and he's interjected all this alien bullshit into it. Because he wants to get on the talk circuit, you know, he's on Rogan. Remember, he's been kicked out of the military. So, or he left the military. He was asked to resign. I can't remember what the score was with that now, but he's a civilian now, is the bottom line. Elizondo's gone very quiet as well, hasn't he? I think Lou Elizondo has got fed up with the piffle peddling. I think he's realised no one's buying it, and he's given it up as a bad job. Whenever all these people that are sort of popping up now, you know, you've got Coulthard, you've got Gary, what's his name, the biologist guy, Nolan. But you know, and you've got Grush. Of course, there's always Corbell and Knapp in the background, but there's no sign of Elizondo. And this new thing that Gary Nolan and David Grush have formed, you know, the Shit Out of Luck Foundation, the SOL Foundation. Well, they're going to be shit out of luck if they're going to be looking for evidence of alien spacecraft here. They're going to have no luck at all, because there aren't any. And they had a thing, and there was a list of speakers. Actually, I think I'll see if I can find the list of speakers, and we'll pick it up there. But I don't recall seeing Lou Elizondo on it. Okay. Well, okay, the Soul Foundation. This is the Gary Nolan, and I thought it was David Grush started with some other guy. Nolan Laboratory Department of Pathology. Be okay, I suppose, if they get any ET biological samples, but pretty useless otherwise. Now, they had a conference recently, and we find that the organisers are Dr. Gary Nolan and Dr. Peter Scarfish. He's not a physicist either, so he's an anthropologist, not terribly useful really with analysing alien technology. Gary Nolan would be okay at analysing alien biology, but the technology I would think would leave him in the dark. Not that they're going to have any to look at, of course. Confirmed speakers. Never heard of this guy. He's an AI entrepreneur. Okay. Dr. Eric Davis. Big red flag. Eric Davis been spruiking this recovered alien spacecraft nonsense for decades. One of the guys that should certainly be subpoenaed in front of Congress and asked to put up or shut up. Never heard of this guy. Oh, this guy. He's a rear admiral. Okay, not very useful really. Administrator, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. Actually, that could be useful because a lot of this UFO stuff could be strange weather anomalies. Okay. Director, Hawaii's Research Centre for Future Studies. Political science, not terribly useful. Avi Loeb doing his bit with his microphone and his tracking camera and his passive radar on top of the buildings. Passive radar uses existing signals from radio and television stations to detect things moving around. That'll be connected to a computer that's going to spin the camera around to see if they can get any shots of it and record the sound as well. I would say it's marginally better than nothing because it's going to be detecting all kinds of stuff. It's going to be detecting light aircraft. It's going to be, there's going to be road noise. Yeah. Avi Loeb, probably useful addition. Leslie Keane. Now, Leslie Keane is the UFO fangirl, and she's authored UFOs and all this sort of stuff, UFO books. And somebody showed her, she was being interviewed, and she left out a lot of information on this. There was something going, I'll see if I can find it. It might have even been on one of these New York Post videos, where she said she actually left out a lot of information because she wanted to steer the viewer towards the extraterrestrial scenario. Now, that is not research. If you're researching, you present all of the evidence. You don't cherry pick it so that you've got little bits and pieces that might give people the idea that there's something going on when really there isn't. So that's Leslie Keane. Red flag, huge red flag. Charles McCulloch III, Inspector General of the Intelligence Community under the Obama administration. Okay, so he would have been the Inspector General that would have overseen the OGA. Remember, they're claiming the OGA has been working on this since 2003, in that period. So he would be worth having. Not if he's going to say, well, I've heard this and I've heard that, but if he's actually got first-hand experience, he's spoken to the boss. He's the Inspector General of the Intelligence Community under the Obama administration. So does that mean that the CIA are responsible to him? He's the Inspector General, so he can ask them anything he wants and he would get that information. So is he aware of the OGA? Did he talk to the boss of the OGA? What has this guy got to say? Hopefully there'll be a video. I think some of this stuff was videoed and the videos are creeping out, but I think I certainly wouldn't bother with Leslie Keane, and I certainly wouldn't bother with Christopher Mellon or Eric Davis, but Avi Loeb I'd watch. This guy I think I'd probably watch, be worthwhile. Charles McCulloch. Dr. Diana Walsh Pasulka, Professor of Religious Studies. Yeah, be a waste of time. Completely pointless. If we ever do venture out among the stars, the last thing we want to do is take any bloody religion out there. Causes more than enough trouble here, doesn't it? Beatrice Volovlu, Director of the Vasco Project, Assistant Professor, Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics. Should be useful to listen to. A theoretical physicist, Jacques Vallée. He's been in the UFO business for an awful long time. UFO fanboy. I wouldn't bother with Vallée. Oh, okay, and that's it. So there's no Lou Elizondo there. There's no Lou Elizondo. There's no David Grush there either, is there? Which, sort of interesting, I suppose. It says, due to limited room capacity, in-person attendance at Stanford is by invitation only. Oh, this was at Stanford University. Professional requests to attend are welcome and should be made through the form below. So they're sort of taking this very seriously. The Shit Out of Luck Foundation. What they're doing, they're wasting an awful lot of time listening to science fiction stories, when all they should be doing really is helping Tim Burchett and the other three senators push this, what was it, Shermer thing through the House and get it approved so that they can subpoena people. Because if they subpoena there's only three people really they need to subpoena. You know, Eric Davis is one. He's been spruiking this nonsense for decades. Hal Puthoff. Oh, he's not there either, is he, Hal Puthoff? And the director of the OGA. Just subpoena those three people and just say, right, put up or shut up. And I think they'd shut up because they would be wriggling. They wouldn't be able to produce a scrap of tangible evidence to show that ET has been here, or that there's any recovered alien craft. That other article said there was two. Two alien spacecraft recovered intact. Yeah? How would you do that exactly? Presumably the aliens wouldn't want you to recover them intact. And the aliens are not going to want to leave anything here for us to study. I've said it how many times, you know, they're not going to want to leave technological or biological material here for us to study. It's the worst thing they could possibly do. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's complete and utter rubbish. You know, they leave it here for us to study. It's helping us get to them, basically. And they don't know. They've got no idea what we're going to do when we get there. When we get to them. I mean, looking around the planet now. I mean, would you really want this species coming to see you? It's beyond ludicrous. Okay, I'll just see what else I can find. Worth a look, and I'll leave a link to this below. This is the New York Post. He's talking about the red flags with the UFO whistleblower story. This is the fellow I was talking about. He's done a couple of these, the Great UFO Lie. He's very good, this guy. Okay, let's just show this little bit here.
Another red flag is the sources for all of this. It's the same names that have been involved with this UFO story for years. The authors of the original story are Ralph Blumenthal and Leslie Kean. In the UFO world...
Now remember, Leslie Kean was on the list of speakers at the Soul Foundation, that new Gary Nolan thing.
These guys are superstars. Miss Kean, for example, for many, many years, dating back decades, has been a UFO activist, a UFO researcher, a UFO author, a UFO believer. And these two wrote the now infamous 2017 New York Times front page article revealing this Pentagon UFO program. Our reporting at the Post has revealed that most of that article is erroneous, factually inaccurate, deceptive. And Miss Kean actually went on a Showtime documentary and admitted that she had a specific goal and agenda with that New York Times article, and that was to get people to believe in UFOs.
The angle that I was taking in my reporting was to try to get credibility for the subject, and I knew that that was not the way to go. That was not the first step in terms of getting people to accept this.
Through my own research, I've learned that other news outlets had this story, were presented with this story, did not publish the story. Ralph Blumenthal, in a tweet, for example, says the Washington Post had this story. But they wanted to take some time, he says. They needed more time. Washington Post needed more time for what? Could it be for fact-checking, background checks, intense vetting, more fact-checking, and so on? Anyway, they couldn't wait, so they just published it in the debrief. Now, what's the debrief? The debrief is a low-level underground media outlet, and they run lots of UFO stories. They got their start running UFO stories.
I think that's enough of that, but you get the picture. So basically these people are just not credible. As this guy said, it's the same names over and over again for years. And you saw Leslie Kean there, Leslie Kean, however it's pronounced. Apologies if I've got that wrong. Saying that, you know, she didn't want... She wanted to steer people in the direction of it being UFOs being ET. she left a lot of it out. She steered away from all the other stuff that was going on, and I think that's with Allsap, and all the money that was wasted at Skinwalker Ranch. As I say, I'll leave a link to the two videos, this one here and the Great UFO Lie, and you can watch those and you'll get a much better idea of the truth of the matter, what is actually going on with this UFO business. And make no mistake, that's what it is. It's a business. And here we have our old mate Ross Coulthard, UFO fanboy, loves all this stuff. Knows where there's an alien spacecraft outside of the US that's so big they couldn't move it, they had to put a building over it, but he won't tell us where that is because he knows very well that we can check it out. Someone will say, well, I had a hand in building that building and there's no alien spacecraft underneath it. Another dent in the credibility of this nonsense. He hasn't mentioned the alien ball, that Gary Nolan would have tested a long time ago. He'll know the results of the tests. He won't tell us it's a ball check valve made in the USA because, it's another dent in the credibility because Ross Coulthard is a UFO fanboy, like Leslie Keane. He wants you to believe it's all real.
Ross, if you can, from where Brian left off and what you think about this specific report about the CIA office.
Okay, so the Office of, firstly, g'day, Connell. The Office of Global Access is the office, I'm told, where this is all happening. You've got to have an office to coordinate the retrieval of...
He's told, so he doesn't know that. He's done no research for himself. He hasn't verified that. He's been told that.
Of these craft, and I know a lot of people out there still think this is all science fiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody with any critical thinking ability would certainly think this is all science fiction, because it is.
But since we did the Grush interview a few months ago, I've just got more solid with intelligence sources who are telling me that the entire operation is and has long been run out of the CIA, and the OGA, the Office of Global Access, is where it's happening. The only issue that I take issue with in the Daily Mail report is that it's not just 9 craft. I'm told that the United States is in possession of far more than 9 craft.
Crash helmets, everybody! Don't go outside because it's going to be raining alien spacecraft. They'd have to be falling out of the sky like flies, really, wouldn't they, these things? Have you ever seen one? Have you ever seen an alien spacecraft crash in your street? At the shopping centre, outside the pub, over at the football pitch. It's complete and utter rubbish. They would have to be the worst drivers in the galaxy. Would you want to insure those guys? It's ludicrous.
Craft, not all of them intact. And whilst this might all sound incredible, what I can also reveal is that, yes, there are JSOC operators, Special Operations Command operators, mainly recruited from the US Air Force Special Forces, who are involved in these retrieval teams. And it's a very active and ongoing operation.
May I ask you one specific question about the term non-human? So UFO would be unidentified flying object, right? So these are supposedly operated by quote-unquote non-humans. How do we know that?
Because we have...
Someone told him. Honest, Governor, they were aliens. They were non-human intelligences.
Covered, and again, this is on the basis of what I'm being told by multiple sources in the intelligence community, very senior sources.
Okay, and this is what he's been told. He has no evidence. He is choosing to believe what he's been told. These claims are so fantastic that before repeating it like this as truth, he should see some tangible evidence to back these stories up.
Who know what they're talking about. We have recovered what...
Like who? Eric Davis, Hal Putoff.
David Grush euphemistically referred to...
Grush Elizondo.
Who is biologics.
Tom DeLong.
Alien bodies, non-human bodies. And I think we're getting very close, Connell, to a point where the US government is going to have to start becoming more candid with the American people, because The issue behind this Daily Mail story, in my view, is the risk of catastrophic disclosure. The risk that if the government isn't more open with the people, if the Congress continues to allow this story to be suppressed by sections of the defence aerospace community that, frankly, I do think are quite legitimately protecting or trying to protect what might be their intellectual property, i.e. these recovered craft that the US government has entrusted them to try and reverse engineer. If that cover-up...
That's another thing too. This supposedly has been going on for decades, yet we haven't seen any of it, have we? They've been trying to reverse engineer alien spacecraft for years and years and years, yet we're not seeing any of that technology, are we? And I think we would be seeing some of that technology, something that would be obviously too advanced for us to have come up with just yet. So, yeah, as I said, I really hope this Sherman, whatever it is, this guy that's trying to push this thing through, I really hope he succeeds. And I really hope they get the appropriate people subpoenaed. And I really hope that any and all evidence is presented. What I suspect, of course, is that there'll be every excuse under the sun as to why it can't be presented, because they'll all be talking behind. They'll be huddled under the table talking amongst themselves, saying, "We've got nothing to present. How the hell are we going to get out of this? We've been bullshitting people for decades. How are we going to... Now we've been called... Now bluff has been called. How are we going to get out of this? We've got nothing to present." So I really seriously hope this transparency thing goes through, and I really, really hope these guys get subpoenaed. I would love to watch a video of Eric Davis under oath talking to Congress. And I would love to see them say, "Okay, Eric, let's just get in the car. Let's go and have a look at one of these flying saucers. Let's go and have a look at these alien spacecraft. Let's go and have a look at an alien you've got in a jar." I would love to see that. Of course, they're all running away and hiding now and saying, "Oh no, we can't do that. Oh, it's all super secret." Of course, there'd be no reason to keep it all super secret, would there? Absolutely no reason at all. The best deterrent on the face of the earth would be to tell the world you had a recovered alien spacecraft. No one's going to mess with you if you've got one of those, are they? Because they are going to know that you have in your possession technology that is way beyond anything we could come up with here. And certainly the energy sources and everything else, the weapons that you could make from that. No one is going to mess with you if you've got something like that. So, so I think... I think it is all science fiction rubbish, absolute claptrap. And, you've got people like Coulthard on the bandwagon, Gary Nolan. You saw the list of speakers at the Shit Out of Luck Foundation. None of it looks credible to me. We'll just have to see how this goes. I mean, if it turns out that they're subpoenaed and they're taken to a shed and shown an alien spacecraft, I'll say, wow, I would not have picked that. I was wrong. Of course, to even suggest that I could be wrong is preposterous. I'm never wrong. It's a curse sometimes. Well, if you've struggled all the way through the video to here, thank you very much indeed for watching. As always, hope I didn't make you seasick with all the as usual. But this is all I can be bothered to do. I'm afraid I cannot be bothered to spend a lot of time on this nonsense. Thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.